I have the great pleasure of introducing to you one of the greatest magicians in the history of the world. But he couldn't make it tonight, but instead, ladies and gentlemen, give a warm round of applause for the great Zehroo.
I want you to know, you see, when I started out, I wanted to be the great Zehroo. And then they told me, no, there's a Zehroo. And I said, oh, I feel like a zero. And then my minister, she said, oh, no, nobody's a zero. We're all heroes for God. And so she said, you can't be Zehroo, so you'll be Zehroo. And so I became the great Zehroo, because we are all heroes for God. You and me all together, we are heroes. Okay, you can go sit back down now. Now, I love to work with woodwork, and I know we have some of you who do a very good job. You see, I got this little thing here that I took a little piece of wood, and I take this wood and I put a little hole, and I put a little piece of rope, and then I took a bracelet from Mrs. Zehroo, not Zero, Zehroo, and I got the little bracelet over here. So now I'm going to make this bracelet go over to this rope, okay? All right, so I've got to move my little cape around this way. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to make it go over to this side, okay? Here we go, okay? There. And look at that. That's a little boy, you're too smart. You're a very smart boy. You say, great Zehroo. That's very easy. You just turned it around like that, huh? You say that, oh yes, okay, you caught me. Now you figured it out. You said, put it in the middle because that'd be very hard. You'd have to untie it and put it back in there like that, right? That would be very hard. Okay, never forget it. Next trip, okay. No. You see, with a little magic, everybody abracadabra. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Abracadabra. Here we go. Whoosh. Here we go. Oh, now that's the magic. I really had no reason to leave, and it was a very hard decision for me to do that. But I went to Nordstrom and spent the next 13 years as getting on their nerves and being a buyer and a manager and so forth. And one of the things that I was responsible for was to oversee the shoe shine stand.
which sounds like that shouldn't be too much of a problem, and let me assure you, you'd be wrong. Desperation was setting in, and finally occurred to me that maybe the police would know somebody that's trying to turn their life around and would be interested in working on the shine stand. I still think that was a pretty good idea, except I just talked to the wrong law officer. He recommended a guy named Mr. Benny. And Mr. Benny's stories are legendary. Mr. Benny's most famous story is the time he set a woman on fire on the shine stand, and that's what I wanted to tell you about my Kathy Bates moment. Husband and wife came in, and the shine stand has what they used to call Boogie Blaster. It's a spray shine that usually they only use if somebody drops some shoes off and they're in a hurry to get them done. They'll put that on and it kind of kicks the shine up. Use too much of it will ruin the finish, but it's basically pure alcohol. And Mr. Benny put that on this woman's shoes, and she had a thread on her pant leg that was there. Now, there's several options available to Mr. Benny. One is to simply ignore it. Two would be to snip it, or call the tailor over, or point it out. Somewhere on that list is get your big butane lighter and burn the thread off. Now, I need to back up a second because my boss was in charge of the store that night. Excuse me. And then the last thing he said to me, I had me running the department, he says, okay, I don't want to be bothered, so, you know, if anything comes up, you handle it. And whatever, I don't want any of your stupid jokes that you like to pull. Don't even think about doing any of those. So those were the instructions. Well, all of a sudden, and instead of rushing to help this woman, or something that you would like to think you would do, I had a Kathy Bates moment of, well, now there's something you don't see. I did absolutely nothing. Luckily, Mr. Benny did react by flailing away, smacking the lady's legs, and then so we kind of lucked out. Her husband, and I don't know if he's still her husband, but at the time he thought that was hysterical. Man, I had my lawyer over there in 2 seconds. So I had to call my boss and tell him that, hey, you need to get down here right away. Mr. Benny just set some woman on fire. His remarks to me are not repeatable, even amongst drunk sailors. But I finally convinced him that he did need to get down here.
It's been an honor to share this time with you and with Jeff. I want to tell you what I found out about these two. I was in downtown Indianapolis one day and walking along, and there was a little shop that had a fortune teller in there, complete with the big crystal ball. So I went in out of curiosity, and what I found out was startling. I found out that the great Zehroo would be sent to hell for his sins. And in the crystal ball you can see, as he enters into this eternal torment, there he sees Jeff Price telling jokes to a group of beautiful women. And he yelled at Satan, he says, what a ripoff! Look, I have to spend the rest of eternity down here, and Jeff gets to spend his time telling jokes to beautiful women. And Satan jabbed him with his pitchfork and snarled, who are you to judge these women's punishment?